Now at 5, why some Missourians might be getting state income tax rebates. Plus, how a moving crew in Jasper County dealt with a not-so-mobile home. And
President Biden celebrates Earth Day by signing an executive order to help protect older forests. I'm Natalie Brand at the White House, showing you how that could help fight climate change.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Missouri lawmakers advance a bill that could put rebates in the pockets of a lot of taxpayers. This is KOAM News at 5. The Missouri House has approved a bill that would give rebates of up to $1,000 for state income taxes owed this year. The proposal would allow for rebates of up to $500 per individual or $1,000 for married couples. If individuals or couples didn't have to pay additional money in income taxes when they filed, they wouldn't qualify. Republicans say Missouri's budget surplus should go back to taxpayers. Democrats say the measure wouldn't help the poorest. The bill now heads to the Missouri Senate, where it faces an uncertain future. After a year of work, Pitt State Technology's seniors are showcasing their final projects. Industrial professionals met with the students today to look over their projects and advise them on their futures. Projects included a smart visor for your car, an air compressor controlled by your phone, and a 3D printed animatronics robot.
The goal was to have something where you can program the movement, dress it in a lightweight costume, and say, okay, I want something to stand in front of my coffee shop, and in a high foot traffic area, and bring in people. They see something moving. It's better than just a mannequin. It's better than just static motion.
Tonight at 6, we're going to hear more about the impact this symposium has on graduating seniors' futures. Firefighters battle a mobile home fire in Redding's Mill overnight. This was at 6645 Castle Heights Road, a remote area without any nearby hydrants. Firefighters set up a portable tank to continually fill as they battled the blaze. We're told everyone did get out safely. The Red Cross was called in to assist the 4 adults who lived there. An attempt to move a mobile home backfires and ends up blocking an intersection in Jasper County for hours. This was the scene yesterday evening at County Road 270 in Kismet Lane. The mobile home had been on the move and became stuck on a turn. Jasper County Sheriff's Office and Missouri State Highway Patrol responded. The movers eventually decided the best option, maybe the only option, was just to destroy the mobile home. They used a skid steer to dismantle the structure and clear the roadway. Both roads finally reopened around 10 p.m. As expected, windy and warm out there. Doug Heddy.
Yeah, super warm for us today. We've gone into lower 80s during the afternoon, but it's also been very windy across the region. We do have some mid and upper level clouds out to our west, but any thunderstorms tonight, they're going to stay way west of the region, so we don't have to worry about any showers, any thunderstorms as we go through the evening hours. Look at our temps. We're sitting mainly into lower 80s, but it's super windy. We have these southerly winds kind of helping our temperatures warm up. Sustained kind of in that 20 to 30 mile per hour range, and then at times we've been getting gusts 40 upwards to 50. So it's going to stay super windy as we go through the evening hours. Slow drop back through the 70s, eventually mid 60s once again. Severe threat rolls in for us tomorrow. We're going to look at that here in just a bit.
See you then. New satellite images show mass graves just outside the city of Mariupol. That's where about 1,000 Ukrainian fighters are trapped in a steel mill trying to hold off the Russian forces. Some civilians have escaped Mariupol, but Ukraine estimates there are still about 100,000 trapped in the city and an untold number of dead. This comes as the U.S. is stepping up its weapons delivery to Ukraine and Russia mounts a new offensive in the east. Several major wildfires are continuing to threaten communities in the southwest, especially in Arizona. Hundreds of homes have been evacuated, dozens of structures are destroyed. The tunnel fire near Flagstaff has already burned more than 32 square miles, and it's growing. The intense fires are early in the season, but scientists say a 20-year drought fueled by climate change has led to a year-round fire threat in the West. So far this year, there have been nearly 20,000 wildfires nationwide. That's the most in at least a decade. As those wildfires continue to burn, President Biden is spending Earth Day in Seattle, where he's detailing a new executive order to protect the nation's forests. President Biden campaigned on combating climate change as a top priority, but some environmental groups say the president's record so far falls short. Natalie Brandt has more from the White House.
With firefighters predicting a higher wildfire risk this spring and summer, President Biden is using this Earth Day to unveil a new plan to make federal forests more resilient.
I just think this is the beginning of a new day.
Under the president's new executive order, federal agencies will conduct a first-ever inventory of old-growth forests on federal lands within a year and develop policies to protect older trees, key to fighting climate change because they can store more carbon, though the order does not ban the logging of older trees.
Scientists estimate that the protection and restoration of our natural lands and waters can provide more than 1/3 of the solution to climate change.
But the president has been criticized by some environmental groups as his most ambitious climate proposals remain stalled in Congress.
We've been frustrated with President Biden and the administration's unwillingness to use the full might of the federal government to address climate change.
Eric Pica of Friends of the Earth is especially critical of recent actions announced by the Biden administration to address high gas prices, such as resuming new leases for drilling on federal lands.
He's only 1 year into his administration. There's still a lot of promise in what they could do.
We need Congress to act as well.
Friday, the president again called on Congress to act on legislation to fight climate change and curb energy costs. But time could run out if Republicans take control of Congress in November's midterm elections. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, the White House.
Today, the president also touted provisions from the bipartisan physical infrastructure law, which includes more than $1.5 billion for state, local, and tribal forestation programs. A little bit later on this Earth Day, where green is growing.
Wind and solar power.
But first, a CDC warning about a mysterious liver disease attacking children. Next in Healthwatch. Topping today's Healthwatch, fewer kindergartners are getting vaccinated. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reports childhood vaccination rates for measles, mumps, and rubella and other conditions fell during the last school year. Researchers said vaccinations dropped by about 1 percentage point for 3 immunizations. Researchers say the overall drop could be tied to the pandemic, specifically tougher access to appointments and inaccessible data. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is issuing a health advisory about several cases of severe liver inflammation in children. Bradley Blackburn has more.
The CDC is alerting doctors and public health authorities about a cluster of children identified with hepatitis or liver inflammation and infection with adenovirus. 9 children under 10 were diagnosed in Alabama from October to February, 2 in North Carolina. Doctors at UAB Children's Hospital treated the Alabama cases.
What was odd was just the frequency of how often these children were coming, and the fact that each one of them tested positive for adenovirus.
2 patients needed liver transplants. While the cause remains unclear, health officials are investigating the possible link to adenovirus, which typically causes mild to severe respiratory illness, fever, sore throat, and pink eye. Several of the Alabama cases were positive for a specific adenovirus.
It can also cause gastrointestinal distress, things like nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. Adenovirus type 41, as far as we can tell, has never been associated with significant liver injury. And all of these children did have, or most of them had, GI type symptoms and then developed, of course, the hepatitis on top of that.
Dr. Wes Stubblefield with the Alabama Department of Public Health says symptoms of liver inflammation can vary.
It might look like their belly was particularly big. You can also see yellowing of the eyes or skin, something we call jaundice, which is absolutely unusual, especially in an otherwise healthy person.
The hepatitis cases were first identified in Britain, 74 since January. Health officials expect more cases will be picked up with increased surveillance. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
Health officials in Alabama say none of the children had a history of recently being infected with COVID-19, and none of them had been vaccinated against COVID-19. New reports suggest the COVID-19 vaccine could have prevented hundreds of thousands of deaths. The Kaiser Family Foundation released an analysis on preventable deaths due to the coronavirus. Researchers suggest the vaccine could have saved at least 234,000 lives between June of 2021 and March of 2022. That's about 60% of the COVID deaths among adults during that time period. A study in Spain found adults hospitalized with COVID-19 were more than 3 times as likely to die as those with the flu. Researchers analyzed medical records during the first wave of the pandemic. They found COVID patients were also at a higher risk of complications, including kidney injury, blood clots, and respiratory distress. And that is a look at today's health news. A little bit later, some obstacles on the road to clean energy.
Plus some thunderstorms we need to keep our eyes on as we head into the weekend. We're going to check that out coming up. Well, it's turned out to be a really nice Friday for us today. It's warm, it's super windy, but it's turned out to be a pretty good Friday. Plus, it's Friday. We're heading into the weekend. Nice shot. This is Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Of course, Indigo is just outside of Seneca, Missouri, right on the west side. Looks pretty good. We do have some clouds out there, but overall, it has turned out to be a nice afternoon, a nice evening. Look at these temps, lower 80s, anywhere from 82 in Miami, 81 in Pitt, 82 in Neosho. The clouds a little bit thicker in our western counties, so a notch or two cooler, but the winds really kicking in. South winds sustained 20 upwards to 30, but at times today we've had gusts quite a bit higher than that, 40 upwards to about 45. So it's going to stay windy throughout the rest of the evening into the overnight hours tonight. And then again, as we go through the daytime hours tomorrow. 7th and range line currently sitting at 82, gusts 37. Humidity is at 42%. Through the evening hours, we slip back through the 70s, but we only bottom out into the mid 60s a little bit later on tonight. So it is going to stay mild throughout the overnight hours. All right, let's go through time. Let's see what's going on out there. There's not a whole bunch. We do have a little deck of clouds in our western counties. Any big thunderstorms or severe thunderstorms tonight are going to stay in western Kansas down through the panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas. Now, those storms will give us clouds as we go into the morning hours tomorrow, and maybe even our western counties may get a random pop-up shower thunderstorm, but this main system is really kind of developing and it's stretching apart. It's actually going to peak out before it even makes it here, but it will give us a severe threat tomorrow afternoon. This is not an extremely impressive system, but it's strong enough that we are going to have a severe threat. And you can see this is mainly along and north of I-44. This is going to be for tomorrow late afternoon into the evening hours, I think after 4 p.m. And then severe threat should wane after midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm still going to keep all the threats low, but it is definitely something we want to keep our eyes on by tomorrow afternoon. All right, let's go through time. Tonight's fine, just kind of in and out of the clouds. We drop back eventually into the mid 60s. Let's go through the morning hours tomorrow. We are going to have some clouds. You can see a random shower on the Kansas-Oklahoma side, but look at our temps again. We warm up, upper 70s to near 80 degrees. By the evening hours, here's 6:30. Thunderstorms that get going in our western counties, Yates Center, Iola, Chanute, Independence, Sedan. The onset of these storms, we are going to have a tornado threat. So the first part of these storms will have a tornado threat on the Kansas and the Oklahoma side. I think after 9, once they get into Pittsburgh and Joplin, we're mainly switching over to a hail, heavy rain threat, and then just periods of showers and thunderstorms all the way into Sunday morning until the front passes by. At that point in time, our severe threat will start to really drop. But we are going to see some heavy amounts of rain in spots. I think most of us a half an inch upwards to an inch. Some of our southern counties may pick up a couple inches of rain. 79 tomorrow. We're going to make it an alert day just because we do have that severe threat, especially on the Kansas and the Oklahoma side. 65 showers and thunderstorms Sunday. Most of the beginning of next week looks pretty good. Thunderstorms sneak back in late next week.
We'll certainly be alert on the coming alert day.
Yeah, we'll keep our eyes on it.
Thanks, Doug. Here's a look at our tower camera. We're going to show you, sponsored by R.E. Smith Construction. His work continues on the KOAM More Power project. You can check it out anytime on our website. That's KOAMnewsnow.com/power. Coming up, the latest on a billionaire's effort to buy Twitter. First, though, we recognize a local World War II veteran. Orville Bell served in the U.S. Army from 1942 to 45. His duties included guarding German prisoners of war. His hometown, Jericho Springs, Missouri. Buck Sergeant Orville Bell, a four-state hero. Topping today's Consumer Watch, Elon Musk says he's lined up more than $46 billion in financing for his bid to buy Twitter. In documents filed with the SEC, Musk, the world's richest man, said he'll include $21 billion of his own cash in the offer and would borrow the rest. In a tweet, Musk said, quote, "If our Twitter bid succeeds, we'll defeat the spam bots or die trying." On this Earth Day, demand for electricity is surging and wind and solar power are booming to record levels. But experts say there are still obstacles on the road to clean energy. Tina Kraus reports.
The winds of change are moving faster than ever, with 50 countries, including the U.S., generating more than 10% of their electricity last year from wind and solar power.
Most countries have now realized that wind and solar are a kind of essential part of their future electricity system.
Researchers at the energy think tank Ember say the fastest transformations are happening in the Netherlands, Australia, and Vietnam. All three switched a tenth of their power from fossil fuels to green sources in the last 2 years. In 2021, all sources of clean energy accounted for 38% of the world's power supply, even more than coal.
Do you believe we are on the road to a cleaner future?
We're moving in completely the right direction. We just need to keep that momentum and that growth going.
As the world's economies bounced back from the pandemic, demand for energy soared, causing a surge in coal power, mostly in China and India, driving rates to the highest level since 1985. With gas prices skyrocketing, spurred on by the war in Ukraine, analysts warn reliance on coal could escalate as European countries look for alternatives to Russian oil and gas. Experts hope the burst of popularity in wind and solar power will be the turning point toward a greener future. Tina Kraus, CBS News, London.
Wind power use in the U.S. had a huge milestone last month. The U.S. Department of Energy says on March 29th, wind turbines produced more electricity than both coal and nuclear energy for the first time in U.S. history. Warner Brothers Discovery is pulling the plug on CNN's new streaming service. The company says CNN Plus will cease operating on April 30th, just 1 month after it launched. The decision to end the service came just 2 weeks after Discovery took control of CNN's parent company. A final check of the forecast next. Up next on the CBS Evening News, we go on the road with the story of an unlikely friendship between a young cancer patient and a Major League ball player. Then on KOAM News at 6, Oklahoma lawmakers take action on a controversial bill concerning gender and birth certificates. We're going to hear the debate, both sides, plus how the pandemic has influenced public perception of local health departments. And we're going to hear from some of the Pitt State Tech students presenting their creations at a symposium today. Stay with us for the CBS Evening News and then KOAM News at 6. Smelling is believing. The blooming of a giant corpse flower in Grand Valley State University in Michigan has attracted a whole lot of visitors to take pictures. This is time-lapse video of the bloom this week. It's the first time for this rare plant to flower since it was donated to the university's greenhouse back in 2015. It's going to be the last time in years before it blooms again. Corpse flower is named after its significant odor when it blooms, like that of a rotting corpse. It's also the tallest flower in the world. At least 2 good reasons why you would not want to wear this thing on your lapel.
It's true.
Or try to impress your date with this flower. It's amazing, though. This thing is huge. Weather for the weekend.
We're going to be watching for thunderstorms developing, especially after 4 or 5 p.m. tomorrow, mainly on the Kansas and the Oklahoma side, but most of us will get storms by the time we get into Sunday morning. Still warm and windy tomorrow, high temp near 80.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you right back here at 6. Let's make it a great evening.